In 2025, the TeSeek11 mount is probably the smallest harmonic drive mount sold by any astro equipment company. It appears to be getting quite popular. I bought mine about 3 months ago on AliExpress for around $350 US. The mount head does not include a latitude wedge, but rather has a Vixen bar baseplate. As shown here, the unit only weighs 1.3 kilograms and has a recommended load capacity of 5 kilograms. There is no balance bar included in the TeSeek11 design. In the prior 2 months, I have published 3 videos demonstrating or using this mount for deep sky imaging with one of my smallest optical tube assemblies. I call the entire assembly shown here on the bottom left my Minimax imaging rig. At 1.6 kilograms, the OTA is far below the theoretical 5 kilogram maximum capacity of the TeSeek11. This is my largest telescope, the SV503 80ED doublet refractor from Zerboni. Fully assembled, as you see here, it weighs exactly 5 kilograms. I wanted to try it on the TeSeek11 mount, because I had a few requests from Astrophotography Japan subscribers for doing this kind of stress test at the maximum load. Here is the entire setup that I employed for this evening of testing. Normally with this telescope I use the TC40 tripod, a tri-pier extension, and the AM5 mount. That ZWO integrated product assembly is wide and highly stable. This entire setup does not look nearly as stable, especially since you can see how small the TeSeek11 looked under that 80ED telescope. Here you can see I'm using a William Optics latitude wedge to properly achieve a good polar alignment. There was a bit of a breeze on this night which worried me, but it turned out that the imaging rig was never in any threat of toppling over due to the gentle wind. I did, however, be sure to identify the balance point of the optical tube assembly when I loaded it on this tiny harmonic drive mount. At the limits of any mount's capacity, balancing is a good common sense practice. After a rough focus and polar alignment, I selected a bright star for fine focusing and guiding calibration. To get the refined focus, I chose Fomalhaut in the eastern sky. Here you can see the OTA slewing at its actual speed to the assigned star target. For polar alignment and slewing, I used a UV IR cut filter, since narrowband filters are sometimes problematic for go-to slewing under highly light-polluted skies like here in Yokohama. After centering on Fomalhaut, I switched to a new filter that I just bought, the 3nm dual narrowband from Zerboni. My intention was to later image an emission nebula, so I wanted my focus with this filter to be spot on. I executed a batten-off mask fine focus routine with that narrowband filter. After checking my guide scope focus as well, I started the guiding calibration. The calibration routine is shown here in sped-up format. It seemed to be going smoothly with no issues. This slide shows you the guiding and guide stability parameters I used. For the stability and settle time parameters, I selected low stringency settings since I anticipated the weight of this telescope might be a challenge for the mount to settle and stabilize after a dithering event. And from my experience, I know the guiding stats on the TeSeek11 are not as low as my AM5 mount. Initially, the guiding numbers were quite jumpy, as you can see here. At this point, I was not certain if that was the best I could expect, or if my aggression settings were off, or if my exposure time was non-ideal, or if the gentle breeze from the north was limiting my accuracy. There are so many parameters that affect guiding, it is difficult to optimize it fully, as you probably know. I dropped my aggression settings down to 30% each for RA and DEC, and shortened my exposure time to 1/2 a second. And eventually, it settled into an RMS value that was similar to the accuracy I achieved on previous nights with my Minimax wide-field scope configuration. However, the numbers were still quite jumpy. I decided to try the calibration again, this time at a sky location much further away from the North Celestial Pole. So I slewed to a new star that I selected in the south. As you can see here, everything seemed to be going fine, until it wasn't. Then for some reason the OTA stopped slewing, but short of the target. I got some strange message on my SmartPad screen saying something like, "Mount unable to reach target." I never saw that before. Upon inspection, I realized that I snagged a power cable which was stopping the rotation of the mount. In a panic mode, muttering many profanities, I quickly stopped the GoTo and frantically released the jammed cable. Much to my relief, when I reinitiated the GoTo, the mount worked fine and directly went to the target star. Now you understand why I titled this video Stress Test. I was not just using a heavy OTA weight, but also I jammed the mount, stressing the motor as well. That moment was stressful for me too. It was a moron move, I know, but there appeared to be no damage done, thank goodness. I can't help but think if this was my ZWO mount, the power of the AM5 would have probably done some serious damage to something. Well, after completing another guiding calibration again, this time facing the south, I got similar RMS error numbers and felt satisfied that my results were reproducible. I decided it was time to do a little imaging, so I slewed back to the north to my planned deep sky target. This is the target and framing that I selected, the Fishhead Nebula, and a portion of the Heart Nebula that included the core region. This depiction is a field of view simulation predicted by the Stellarium software for my OTA configuration. I started imaging it just before the Meridian Flip, which occurred at 8:24 p.m. and at 63 degrees altitude. I collected approximately 60 subframes at 120 seconds exposure time for each frame. This video segment here is the executed Meridian Flip in real time at 1x speed. It's rather slow. By the way, I programmed only 120 seconds as my exposure because by this time I noticed a direct correlation between the breeze coming from the north and my jumpy guiding statistics. This was not a windy night. The breeze was rather gentle with occasional slight gusts, but not something that would have bothered my AM5 mount at all. However, this tiny mount with this near capacity load was highly sensitive to even gentle winds. It reminded me of the AZ GTI mount I began my astrophotography hobby with about 3 to 4 years ago. But if I had to make a choice between the TeSeek11 and the AZ GTI, I would definitely select the TeSeek11. It is smaller, has similar accuracies, and is a harmonic drive design, eliminating the need for counterweights. Overall, this setup worked. The TeSeek11 mount did manage the heavy load admirably, with the only issue being the wind. The tripod, mount, OTA configuration assembly was reasonably stable, despite the way it looked, and I did get some good imaging data. But like the AZ GTI mount I remember so well, I needed to discard many subframes with elongated stars due to wind interference. I probably discarded 25% or more of the images. Later in the evening, however, when the breeze died down to almost nothing, my guiding statistics improved. I even got down to sub-arc-second accuracy multiple times with nearly all the subframes acceptable for stacking at that time. This is a peek at the image that I captured relative to the stellarium simulation view I showed you previously. And here is the final image up close. It is developed from 90 minutes of integrated data using the software whose icons you see displayed here. The data was collected using the Zvibony 3nm dual narrowband filter, a product that I will review more thoroughly in my next video. The image looks very nice. The stars are tight and round. It looks as good as any of the other images that I can take with my AM5 mount. However, remember, I had to discard 25% or probably more on this night of the subframes which displayed elongated or trailing stars. So there, I stressed this poor little mount with a heavy load, I jammed the gears with a snagged cable, and I imaged during a slightly breezy night. Nothing broke, no damage was done, the mount survived and performed quite well. I don't really recommend using a heavy load like this on the TeSeek11 mount. For me, there is no need to do that since I also own the AM5 mount, which has way more capacity. But I understand that this is an expensive hobby and some beginners or enthusiasts with limited budgets may appreciate seeing this information, this video demonstration. So there you have it. I will continue to use the TeSeek11 with my Minimax OTA configuration, which weighs only 1.6 kilograms. That is the purpose for which I bought the TeSeek11. And I do think this little mount is a great value, which, based on this experience and data, appears to be quite robust in performance as well, except for the wind sensitivity with large loads. Thanks for joining me and sticking around to the end. Here in Yokohama, Japan, always looking up at the night skies, I'm JPAstroGuy. My name is Paul Cheesegel, and you have been watching Astrophotography Japan.